On a dark Texas road in 1957, drivers reported engines dying as a brilliant light approached, then rose away into the night. What could stop a moving car without touching it? Levelland sat in the flat oil country west of Lubbock, where long roads cut through open land and a sudden sighting could be seen for miles. In that wide darkness, distance itself became part of the mystery. The town was small, working, and familiar with hard weather and long drives. That ordinary setting is what makes the case linger. The reports did not come from a remote mountain, but from a place built around routine. In late November, a series of motorists began describing the same unsettling pattern. Their cars faltered, the headlights dimmed or died, and a luminous object seemed to pass overhead or nearby. The first reports came in quickly, and then more followed through the night. What began as one strange roadside event turned into a chain of similar claims spread across the county. Witnesses described a glowing object that changed shape or brightness as it moved. Some said it hovered low, others felt it shot away with impossible speed, leaving the roadway strangely silent. Several drivers claimed their engines cut out at the same moment the light appeared. In a case built on motion, that detail matters most. The road itself seemed to become powerless. One of the most striking accounts involved a truck that simply would not keep running until the light moved on. The story repeated in different forms, but the core image stayed the same: machine, darkness, and an unexplained interruption. A few witnesses also mentioned the object's shape, describing it as egg-like, oval, or like a glowing sphere. Those details varied, yet the sense of controlled motion gave the reports a coherence that is hard to dismiss. The weather was not dramatic, and that matters too. Clear visibility meant the witnesses were not struggling through storm, fog, or confusion when they said they saw the light. Word spread fast enough that local authorities and the press soon took notice. Once a case enters the public record, it stops being only a roadside tale and becomes something that can be compared, questioned, and traced. Investigators later collected multiple statements from people who did not know one another. That independence is part of why Levelland remains important. The accounts were not built from a single storyteller's imagination. The case also has a timing problem that keeps it alive. The reports arrived in a short burst, almost like a wave moving across the roads around Levelland. That clustering suggests something more than a single mistaken glance. Whether the cause was physical, psychological, or something stranger, the witnesses felt they were reacting to the same presence. Among the most compelling details is the effect on the vehicles themselves. A light in the sky is one thing, a light that seems to interfere with ignition, headlights, and movement is another entirely. Supporters of the extraordinary interpretation see that as the heart of the case. If the object was real and the cars truly failed in its presence, then the encounter was not merely visual, but physical. Skeptical readings point to misidentification, panic, or electrical trouble in older vehicles. In a region of long roads and scattered lights, a brief intense sight can sometimes gather more meaning than the moment itself contained. Even so, the pattern of multiple witnesses keeps the case from settling neatly. When separate drivers describe stalled engines and a moving light within the same narrow window of time, coincidence starts to feel strained. There is also the human element: fear, surprise, and the pressure of being the first to explain the unexplainable. In that kind of moment, people do not all invent the same story in the same way. At the same time, the reports were not polished or theatrical. They sounded like hurried accounts from ordinary drivers trying to make sense of an event that interrupted an ordinary night. That plainness gives the story its force. A case like Levelland does not depend on exotic language. It depends on the unsettling idea that something unknown entered everyday life and changed the rules for a moment. Researchers have long returned to the same question. What kind of object could be visible, mobile, and yet associated with electrical failure? That combination is what separates Levelland from a simple lights-in-the-sky story. The strongest believer case rests on repetition across witnesses, the consistency of the engine trouble, and the speed with which the reports spread. Taken together, those elements suggest an event that felt immediate and real to the people involved. Yet the record is still imperfect, as many mid-century cases are. Some statements were collected after the fact, and memories under stress can sharpen certain details while blurring others. That leaves room for the ordinary explanations to breathe. Electrical faults, optical confusion, and the contagious energy of a local scare could have shaped parts of the story without fully dissolving it. Still, the case resists being reduced to a single mechanical failure. A broken car explains one stalled engine. It does not easily explain a night of matching reports from different roads and different people. That is why Levelland endures in UFO history. It is not only the light in the sky, but the sense that the light altered the ground beneath it, turning travel into uncertainty. For many, the unanswered question is simple and stubborn. If nothing unusual was there, why did so many people experience the same interruption at nearly the same time? The case never fully loses that edge. The Levelland reports also remind us how quickly a local event can become a national mystery. Once the story left the county roads, it entered a wider conversation about what might be visiting the edge of human certainty. Whether the source was a rare atmospheric effect, a cluster of misread events, or something truly unfamiliar, the case still asks for a better answer than easy dismissal. The details remain too specific to forget. And perhaps that is the lasting power of Levelland. Not certainty, but pressure. The story presses on the boundary between what was seen, what was recorded, and what may have passed overhead. More than 6 decades later, the case still feels unfinished. A few motorists, a dark road, a strange light, and engines that faltered at the wrong moment. What exactly moved through Levelland that night?